Time to talk to Dr. John Hovanesian from Harvard Eye Associates, and we have Halloween coming up, which is spooky, but he's got some scary stuff to tell us about for Halloween. Some don'ts.
Spooky. It's amazing, and I hear Costco has Christmas decorations and stuff already.
Costco had Christmas decorations like 2 months ago. It was ridiculous. There was I was looking at an advent calendar in like August.
Yeah, right. Get it now before they run out. That's how they get you, isn't it?
Yeah. So folks are doing costumes and that kind of thing.
Yep.
You know, some people go all out. They do the makeup, they do the scars, they do the wigs, they do everything. And sometimes people wear little colored contacts.
And they sure are cool looking.
They're cool looking.
They sure, it sure is appealing to have, it's eye-catching. You should forgive the expression. And it's, it's unique and all that, but it can be dangerous.
Right. And so there's some products out there that are just not. They're not right? They're coming from different countries. They're not really certified. They really shouldn't even be in the country, right? But they're somehow getting through.
Yeah. Contact lenses are regulated by the FDA, just like drugs are. And they're supposed to be approved products. And that means that they meet certain safety criteria for what's in the package with the lens, what chemicals can be in there, and labeling in terms of how you wear them. And then the second thing is how they fit your eye. Contact lenses really ideally need to be fit. Our eyes are not all created equal, and not all contact lenses fit well. And a poorly fitting contact lens can do a lot of harm to the eye.
All right.
So the first danger is contacts that are not FDA approved, and unfortunately you can find them online, you can find them in beauty parlors and drugstores and any number of places where you may not know. You'd assume that they'd have products that are FDA approved, but they're not.
Right, so they're kind of working around whatever it is, and there's some maybe shady vendors out there that are selling these to retailers and folks and they just don't know maybe.
Yeah, or they just don't know that what they're selling is dangerous. Some studies on these types of lenses, this is real, the danger that they have. Some of them had chlorine in them, and even after rinsing those contacts with contact lens solution, they still were releasing chlorine into the eye.
Why in the world would you put chlorine into a contact lens solution when chlorine is the most irritant thing that can do to your eyes? I mean,
this is a great question. I mean, chlorine is a great disinfectant, so what you won't have in there is bacteria and viruses, but what you will have in there is chlorine. And even rinsing it, a contact lens is really just a tiny little transparent sponge. And it soaks up everything that it's,
absorbs,
touches, and that includes whatever's in the vial with it, but also bacteria that are on your eye. And contact lenses, when on your eye, they provide this nice, comfortable, smooth, wet coating, so you don't feel discomfort when infections or injuries are happening underneath. And that happens commonly with these.
Right, and so like a sponge, there's going to be some seepage when you put it in your eye, and that chlorine's coming out. What kind of damage can direct contact with chlorine do to your eyes?
Sadly, like any chemical injury, chlorine can destroy the surface of the eye. It can blind you effectively and permanently. It's a very hard type of blindness to fix. We can't even do successful corneal transplants for people who have chemical injuries. Now, I'm not aware whether that has happened, but certainly there have been injuries from these lenses. A lot of them have patterns that are in them, so it looks like a tiger eye or it looks like a cat's eye. But that's because there's a pattern that's stamped into the lens, and that is, in many cases, not a smooth surface, and it's exposed to the eye.
Raised like a print kind of thing?
That's right. In some cases, those have caused injury to the eye, but again, you don't really feel it because that smooth contact lens sitting on the eye kind of masks the, the feeling. And so, the message for viewers really is quite simple on this one. Just don't wear these costume contact lenses unless they have been prescribed by a doctor who's properly fit them for you, and you know that they are, if they're prescribed, that means they're probably FDA approved products. Don't just go into a hardware store, a grocery store, beauty parlor, wherever, hairdresser, where they sell these and say, oh, that looks like fun, I'm going to stick that in my eye. It sounds like a bad common sense, and it is.
Have you ordered people color? I mean, I assume some people, hey, I want to have blue eyes this week or something. Have you ever ordered Halloween type or fun type?
Yeah, there are. The legitimate vendors of contact lenses absolutely do have some of these costume lenses that are, FDA approved, proven safe, reasonable to use, and our doctors who prescribe contacts, yeah, sure, you bet. It's and even if you don't need glasses or contacts, you can, for vision, you can wear one for costume purposes. So they're not categorically a bad idea. It's just the ones that are not regulated are a bad idea.
Yeah, that's the genuine hazard there, right? So watch out for that. Make sure that it's FDA approved. Go to your vision doctor and make sure these things are happening well.
Exactly.
So what are some of the things that people do this time of year? Is there a season for going to the eye doctor, or is it just kind of my annual checkup, or is it, when the winter or the more sunny days, or what is kind of like, what do you have this time of year?
Well, so it's a great question. Any time of year is a good time to go. What's important is that you go, and certainly people over 40, it's recommended that annually that you have an eye exam, even if you don't wear glasses or contacts, even if you're not having eye problems, because there are silent thieves of sight that happen, diseases like glaucoma that have no symptoms at all, that are really important to pick up. One thing to think about, a thorough eye exam often involves dilating the eyes. That's putting in eye drops that make the pupil big, and that does make your vision a bit blurry for a number of hours. If you're concerned about that, bring someone to drive you home or take an Uber. If it's during the sunniest part of the day, that may be more irritating because your eyes are going to be bothered by brighter light, so doing it a little bit later. Dark, it's also difficult to drive in the dark with your eyes dilated, so just because the focus is not as good as normal. So maybe toward the end of the workday is a good time if that seems more comfortable to you.
It dilate me on the winter solstice when it's nice and dark. I have early
Shortest day of the
sunset.
year. Yeah, it's coming. Feels like it's here already, doesn't it? The days have gotten shorter.
When we talk about the difference between wearing contacts, if I have the vanity, I don't want to wear these glasses, I want to wear contacts all the time. What are some of the things that we're talking about in general for people to watch out for when they're ordering contacts? Not the costume ones anymore, but just contacts in general. Yeah. Are there some people who just can't wear contacts because of certain conditions in the eye?
That is true. One of the chief common ones that we see that makes it difficult to wear contacts is dryness of the eye. Dry eye is incredibly common, especially as we get older. And there are ways that we can help folks with dry eye to tolerate their contact lenses better, things like punctal plugs and other treatments that are simple things that can really work. Another warning for people who wear contacts, never wear them overnight. One thing that you do when you wear your contacts overnight is you increase by 20 times the risk that you will develop a potentially blinding infection in the eye.
Oh, but I remember, maybe I haven't seen this in a long time, but I remember there were contacts that came out that you wear them all the time. You wear them for a day or 48 hours, a month.
Yeah,
or
approved
whatever.
out to a month, you're right. There were lenses approved for that type of use, and they're just not a great idea. You're talking to the guy who does the corneal transplant for people who develop those infections, and I would never let my kids or a loved one. In fact, it's a funny part about my relationship with my wife. When we were first dating, she was wearing those type of contacts and would wear them for 2 weeks at a time. And I said, "I'm sorry, I can't date you if you're wearing these lenses overnight. I just can't do it."
Deal breaker.
And so, thankfully, she chose me over the contact lenses. Eventually,
how close was the call?
It was. I don't think she's ever quite told me that. But a couple years later, we did LASIK, and she's never worn contacts since. Still has better vision even than I do, and I'm 20/20. So
there you go.
That was 25 years ago.
So in the different kinds of contacts, there's the disposable, you throw it every day, there's longer term ones. Are there differences that you prescribe? Do you see people going in different directions, and why have the differences?
Yeah, it's very individual. So contact lenses do come in daily disposable varieties where just like the name implies, and particularly for people who have eyes that are more dry or who have allergies, that's a nice solution. It's also convenient. You don't have to put them in solution and store them, and when you travel, you just toss them out at the end of the day. And we always tell folks, anytime you've got irritation in your eye with a contact lens, get it out of your eye, because if you're feeling it, it's probably worse than you think, because that contact is masking.
Yeah, the irritation is telling you something.
Yeah, so there are contacts that are made for people with astigmatism, contacts that are multifocal, so you can see far and near, kind of like your multifocal glasses or your bifocals or progressives that people wear. There are a whole variety of them. A good eye doctor who understands all this technology helps you find a match for what your lifestyle is. It's great if you're going to the doctor for contacts or glasses, bring in the reading material that you commonly use. Or if you like to knit, bring in your knitting and hold it, show the doctor, I hold it here when I do this. Demonstrate, because then they can give you a pair of glasses or contacts that are made to help you see right at that range, make you more comfortable for all those hours you spend doing the things you like to do. And so your doctor is your partner, and there to help you find a solution that's comfortable, safe, and will keep you seeing well for years.
Okay, here's just an interested question. I'm just because I'm interested. If I have contacts and I wear bifocals, how do you make the contact make sure the bifocal stays on the bottom the whole time? Doesn't it just kind of swirl around in
It's
my
a great
eyes
question.
sometimes?
So there are some contacts that work that way, where as your eye looks down, you look through the lower part of the lens. They have what's called a ballast, which makes that part of the lens stay in position. We do that also with astigmatism correcting contacts in some case, so that there's a little ballast so that it stays lower. Some contacts, though, it doesn't matter how it rotates because they're multifocal because of concentric rings in the lens that help focus differently.
Okay.
It turns out as you look up close, your pupil gets a little bit smaller, and that means that you're focusing through a slightly different part of the contact, and so that can be focused for near vision. We use the same concept for a lot of the multifocal implant lenses that we use that help people see through a range of distance. Cool technology, isn't it?
What an amazing world we live in.
Smart engineers figure this stuff out.
Dr. John Hovanesian from Harvard Eye Associates. If you're thinking about contacts, eye exams in general, whatever it might be, they're there for you. Thanks a lot. And don't buy costume jewelry contacts. If you can take away one thing from today's conversation.
Don't let your loved ones do it.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
You're watching This Day. We'll be right back.